Here's a question. It's like a joke. What do corrupt Democrats, corrupt the government of Ukraine, and the largest collapse of a crypto exchange all have in common? The answer is they have a whole heck of a lot in common. And it's not just like one little thing. The tentacles are deep in this mess. I have a sneaking suspicion that this is all planned. Okay. I know that maybe that'd be a little far afield. We'll get to like my maybe conspiracy theory at the end of this segment and see if I'm right. Maybe I'll make a case for it. You tell me if I'm right or wrong about this. And I'll give you my reason for it in just a minute. But first, did you ever wonder where all those billions of dollars that we keep sending to Ukraine have gone? Were you curious? Like, why is AOC, who ran as an anti-war candidate, Bernie Sanders, who was like anti-war, why are they okay with funneling billions of dollars to Ukraine? And, well, it turns out because those are very good questions to be asking, and you're not insane for asking these questions. We'll tell you why that this is a good question in a minute. New reports, though, this evening that all of those billions going to Ukraine were simply laundered right back to corrupt Democrats using the now bankrupt FTX crypto exchange. Now, I'm going to show you how this works. And I'll show you the org chart sort of in a second on all of this. Now, the head of FTX was a vegan by the name of Sam Bankman-Fried.
I think he's still a vegan.
He's a he really wants you to know that he's a vegan. I'm just curious. Like, I don't know. I won't make any judgments. I'm curious how he's a vegan. Anyway, he's 30 years old. He sleeps on a beanbag in his office. So he wants you to know that he always wears shorts. He sleeps on a beanbag. Like, this is, so if you're like this guy, cool, you're always cool. You're always hanging out in your shorts in the Bahamas, eating cucumbers, kicking back. Naz Daily did a whole love piece explaining who Sam is. Like, if you need a little refresher on who Sam Bankman-Fried is, I think this is probably appropriate. It's like a love fest.
Okay, the guy you see next to me is the most generous billionaire in the world, and I found him.
Hi, my name is Sam, and this is my story.
Sam has crazy hair. Sam is vegan. Sam sleeps 5 hours a night. Sam lives in the Bahamas with 10 roommates. Sam is 29 years old only, but Sam has $22 billion. And he wants to donate all of it to charity. But why?
Well, for many reasons.
Okay.
So that's a little, there you go. You got to know Sam. He's a vegan. He sleeps 5 hours a day. He's the epitome of health, as you can tell.
That is not healthy to sleep 5 hours a day.
No. And on a beanbag too. I don't think so. So Democrats loved him, of course, because he funneled millions of dollars to their campaigns. He bankrolled all kinds of climate initiatives. He contributed more than $40 million to Democratic candidates and a network of super PACs that promoted crypto and public health policies. But old Shaky Leg himself says right to Chuck Todd that he's buying policy with all of this money. Watch old Shaky Leg, and you'll see what I mean by the Shaky Leg. Watch this clip.
And joining me now is Sam Bankman-Fried. He's the CEO of the cryptocurrency exchange FTX. You may have seen their TV ads occasionally, and one of America's youngest billionaires. And recently, he's used that money to become one of the biggest donors in this year's midterm elections. Sam, nice to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Of course.
So let me start. You're the fourth. You may not know this, but maybe
he has restless leg syndrome.
You're the fourth largest individual donor.
Yeah, I've got nothing to hide. You're going to ask me some tough questions here. I've got nothing to hide.
To the midterms
my Shaky Leg.
This cycle, you are on a list that includes George Soros, Ken Griffin, Richard Uihlein, Peter Thiel, just below you. Why did you decide it was politics and not something more charitable to spend your money on?
It's a good question. And, to be clear, we have also given, I think, upwards of $100 million this year to
I'm not saying you're not charitable,
but
you've chosen to engage politically.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I think that what it really goes down to is two things. And the first is that policy really matters, right? I think COVID is one of the clearest examples of this, where we did not, as a country or as a world, frankly, have a coherent response to COVID. And we missed in both directions.
So buying buying policy, he admits it right there, right? Buying policy is a good use of my money. I'd much rather give it to corrupt Democrats than charities, right? Because I can protect myself. When I'm giving all of this money and funneling it, it helps me. It helps me, helps my family, right? It protects my business.
Sure. Yeah. He regularly had his fingers in the pot of people who were supposed to be regulating where he was sleeping.
Where he was sleeping, like the beanbag industry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Bruce Fenton dug on this. He said Sam Bankman-Fried created and funded an organization known as Guarding Against Pandemics to be run by his brother. The organization worked to lobby the Biden administration for a $30 billion allocation. So Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX donated over $11 million to Biden directly and over $60 million to other campaigns. So what is Guarding Against Pandemics? Here it is. Biden administration to allocate $30 billion in federal funding. The organization was founded and funded by cryptocurrency billionaire Sam Bankman-Fried. It increases government investment in pandemic prevention plans. So again, pandemic, climate, making sure that we're moving away from fossil fuels. Like, how do we eradicate fossil fuels and hydrocarbons? Like, that was the goal. Like, so Democrats love this guy. Democrats love that. He's a vegan. He hates meat. He doesn't want you to eat meat anymore. He is absolutely like, he's the health, he's like Jared from Subway.
He looks like John Belushi from Animal House.
He does.
He really does look like a young John Belushi.
Beluga. What's his name? Bluto, right? Bluto?
I don't know.
Blutus, I think.
I mean, I don't like to make fun of how people look, but his entire look does look like a severe affectation of like back combing his hair. I tell you, his hair is not that frizzy. He's doing that on purpose. But whatever, do that if you like frizzy hair. I blew my hair out today. It would be a little bit more frizzy if I hadn't done something to it. That's an affectation. Right. So fine. But the idea of this organization to support the Biden administration, which allocates federal funding for pandemics, confuses me, because why does a federal funded program need an outside support fund? Right. So wait, we have billions already allocated for pandemic prevention. And then we'll just sort of wrap it, and it's like tissue paper. We're going to wrap it in money outside of it. I don't understand what that means. So here's what it means. Because it means, I don't know if you've seen this guy then on stage with like Bill Clinton. He was on a pandemic panel where he's up on stage with all of these. So he is then like advising us about pandemic preparedness. Some 30-year-old crypto bro is going to tell us about pandemic preparedness. So that's what it gives you. He gets on stage then with all of these guys. And now because he sends them money, he's now an expert in everything. He's an expert in anything. This is how it works. Yeah. If you can, if you just donate money to museums about art, then suddenly you'll be on stage with famous artists and talking about famous art. Cool.
I mean, that's sort of like, that's the equivalent of like, if I go to the grocery store and I buy a pound of hamburger, that doesn't mean I know shit about like cattle farming. like I don't suddenly become like an expert rancher because I bought some hamburger. No, but in this world it does. How it works. Like, yeah, if you spend billions on it, then yes. So there's a big there's a lot of coincidences here, right? It just happens to be funneling all this money to Democrats. Are there any other deeper connections to there? Well, it turns out that, yes, Sam Bankman-Fried is his brother, Gabe, used to work for Democrat Representative Kasten, who just happens to be on the House Financial Services Committee. You can take my laptop here if you want, Philip, for this one. This was Gabe Bankman-Fried, previously held a position. So he worked for Representative Sean Kasten. So, he's all up in that Democratic caucus. You get up all up in that Democratic caucus, it's gonna get corrupt real fast. It's gonna get corrupt and sticky real fast when you're up in that Dem caucus. All of this drama started last Sunday. So on November 2nd, then really exploded on last Sunday. So November 2nd, when CoinDesk
published a report. Here was the report saying that some shadiness was going on between Sam's FTX and his other trading firm, Alameda Research. So here's the original story that sent the world on fire. Most people, some people were paying attention to it. Most people weren't. You know Michael Lewis, the author of Moneyball?
Yes.
And The Big Short?
Yes.
He's been following this guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, for like a year. He's been writing a book on him. Uh-huh. And
in a favorable light?
Yeah, I think because he's been donating so much money, how does this guy make his money? This is amazing, and so it had all the hallmarks of a Michael Lewis book. And I like Michael Lewis a lot. I think, he does really interesting investigative journalism, and he's, so how did he not know any of this? And now, what's the final few paragraphs of his book going to be? He pulled the wool over everyone.
And everything he did was illegal.
Right. So
the end.
So
we
you
thought
didn't
it was
know
good,
anything?
but it wasn't.
You're hanging out with the guy every day. Maybe he kept it from everyone because apparently even auditors didn't know about it. So what set in motion all of this was this CoinDesk piece, and then on November 6th. With this tweet from the head of rival exchange Binance, his name is Changpeng Zhao, commonly known as CZ in the crypto space. Here's CZ, tweeted this after reading this CoinDesk piece. As a part of Binance's exit from FTX equity last year, Binance received roughly $2.1 billion in USDT equivalent in cash due to recent revelations that have come to light. We've decided to liquidate any remaining of the FTT token in our books. Because basically the token, the FTT token from FTX, was basically worthless. It was being propped up by fake money, by phony money, and being propped up by user money. We'll get to that in a second, customer money. So something wasn't adding up. All of this was coming down, started pulling their stuff out of FTX, and then all hell broke loose, of course. It would be like the head of the earthquake preparedness office who lives on your street. Yeah. John down the street, he works for the earthquake preparedness building. Then he suddenly sells his home because he gets some information because he's worried about the big one hitting, like an earthquake hitting in that neighborhood, right? If I am friends with John and I see that he's selling his home, I'm selling my home too. This guy probably knows something, right? Sure. That's how it works. So then the ensuing panic happened. FTX's investors became so intense. All this panic became so intense, they began collectively pulling out $430 million. And then, of course, the exchanges have just exploded. You can see all of the removals over the past few days. After that tweet, all these people started jumping out of the market. Roughly $3.7 billion in Bitcoin, $2.5 billion in Ethereum, stable coins, over $2 billion in stable coins were also taken off the exchanges. And this isn't just FTX. This is multiple exchanges. So everyone's taking their crypto and running and putting it in cold storage wallets. They're like, well, I don't want to know on any of these exchanges. I don't know if they're going to go belly up. I'm going to lose all my money. Incredibly damning for these people. Now you have, over the past few hours, you've had America's CoinDesk and a few other ones coming out and saying, hey, we're transparent. We're registered in the United States. You don't have anything to worry about. Yeah. We have to show all of our reserves, so you don't have to worry about this. We're okay. But there were initial reports that this Sam hopped on a private jet and was heading to Argentina. People were trying to track his flight. Turns out we now know that authorities in the Bahamas, along with his executives, are watching him right now. He's under supervision by authorities in the Bahamas where he lived, which I guess is the Bahamian version of we're keeping an eye on you. He's under supervision. I feel like that's what a babysitter does. You're under supervision.
I don't know. I don't know what that means.
Well, you wouldn't know anything was wrong because they were actively hiding their scheme in public. So maybe Michael Lewis didn't know about it. A lot of people didn't know about it.
Well, in fact, the Financial Times this morning talked about the 2 audit firms that had been auditing their company and how they didn't even know. And they now are under scrutiny and being asked questions like,
what are people paying you for to audit stuff?
What did you miss here? You kind of missed a big one.
So a lot of people who partnered up with him didn't know either, too. People like Tom Brady. Do you remember this Super Bowl commercial?
I remember.
Watch.
Can I talk to you about something?
Yeah, we talked about it. I got another 10 years left. Maybe 15.
Not that. This is big. What do you think? Are you in?
You know what? I'm in. Let's call everyone.
Hang on a minute. How dare you call this number? Okay, I'm in. Whatever.
Who's that?
That was my mom.
Oh.
Hey, Donut, don't eat that.
Yo, what's up? Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm in.
I'm in. Hey, Arthur, I quit.
I'm in.
T-Bone, is it the downstairs toilet again?
Hello, Tom. Doggy coin?
Sue, Mark.
Are you in? I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in. All right, this last one might be tough.
Nah, he loves you.
Probably just getting another dentist. This guy. First, even if you wanted to come back, we wouldn't take you.
Yes, you would.
Yeah, we would.
You're right, we would. What's up?
I'm getting into crypto. With FTX. You in?
What providing gives 360-degree access to the crypto markets with the ability to trade everything from alts to DeFi. I believe I'm in, but still hate you.
Understood.
Take care. Best of the family.
Is he in?
Yep,
Did he say he hates you?
he did.
Even on the phone, that guy sounds handsome.
That is what cursed their marriage. They should not have done that commercial.
Yeah.
Now they're cursed.
You got to wonder too, like, they just got divorced, right? And it's been a bad year for Tom Brady, right? So you got to wonder, like, he's like the face of this. He was doing ads for them. He was, he was tweeting about it. He was all over his Instagram or whatever. And then he even yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just having seen that ad. I want in. Is it too late to get in?
It's,
Can I still get in?
There still might be an opportunity for you. I'll make some calls and see if you can get in. Let's call Sam. So he even released a video of him, hanging out with Sam. Like, here's me and Tom. Here it's Tom and Sam hanging out. Watch this. This is cringe too.
What's up, guys? I'm here with my boy Sam from FTX. We're at Crypto Bahamas Conference. We're going to start the day. We're going to do some TikToks for you guys. And it's going to be an amazing day. We'll get started. We'll do a get ready with me. Sam, where you going, bro?
And, Steven Seagal last year was fined, I think, $750,000 or something like that because he promoted a crypto scam. And he didn't know it was a scam. And he was paid just as a promoter. But he got a big fine and a visit from the SEC. And so will Tom Brady then be dragged into, what did you know? Or do they only take B-listers?
The thing is, they're not going to investigate this. Again, this is, I don't think, we hear the SEC is going to look into it, really. Again, these are Democrats. They're not going to look into this. If this was somehow tied to Donald Trump, or sometimes tied to Republicans somehow, they'd be all over this, stink on a monkey, right? But they're not. It's Democrats. It's Biden. Do you think they're honestly Biden's own Department of Justice, Biden's own SEC is going to look into this? So we're going to get to the corruption here and how this all ties to Ukraine in a second. But I did some digging more on this in their past messaging. I was going through some forums today and old messages from crypto traders and stuff from over the summer, and looking at some of the messaging from FTX over the summer and what they were promoting, to see that they were celebrating the downfall of a few of these other big players in the market, Voyager Digital, Three Arrows Capital. They were hyping the fact that, hey, they had officially inked a deal with BlockFi. So they were dancing on the graves of these other crypto players, trying to drive people over to FTX. Like, hey, see these guys? They're not on the up and up. Come on over here to FTX. We just inked a deal with BlockFi. At the same time, they were hiding their balance sheets. So when auditors came, they didn't know what was in their balance sheets. They didn't know that they would look at the assets and okay, the only assets on your books are your token? That doesn't make sense. Where's the other assets? Don't you have other assets? Wait a minute, your own token is your own That doesn't make any sense. So it wasn't clear where their customers' money was even going. And then we know. Wall Street Journal reporting FTX tapped into customer accounts to fund risky bets, funneling money to Democrats, donating to all sorts of random different places, and investing in other cryptocurrencies using customers' money. They got away with this because they're in the Bahamas and there's no oversight. That's setting up its downfall. Well, it turns out tens of millions of dollars was going to fund Democratic causes. And then, of course, that money flowed to Ukraine. And then Ukraine invested that money into FTX that it received from the United States. You can't even make this up. I saw someone tweet earlier, a message in our comments earlier. It says, someone just said, I just turned 60. And the older I get, the more I realize it's just not a coincidence.
Yeah.
I'm glad it took you to 60 to figure that out. So here it is. Here's the org chart. This is how it all works. Here's your U.S. tax dollars at work. I love this. It's just one big circle. So let's keep that up on the screen here. So the money, I mean, where does it start, right? I guess it starts from Sam taking your money, then donates it to the Democratic Party and political action committees and candidates, right? So $40 million goes to these candidates, and then it flows, which obviously, and also to Biden, because we just talked about the millions that were going to his COVID task force, et cetera. Then Biden and Democrats funnel all sorts of American U.S. tax dollars in the form of military and humanitarian aid to Ukraine. And then Ukraine uses that money and invests back into FTX so that Sam just gets rich all over again.
Yes. In fact, a lot of the FTX funds were going into the Ukrainian National Bank. That's verifiable. We've known that since March, and that was reported as a feel-good story.
Right.
We were told this early in the conflict with Russia, like this exchange is sending them money. It goes directly into the Ukraine National Bank, and it is there available for them. So, we're not supposed to know it now, but we knew it then.
It also went to, and according to excellent journalist Natali Winters at the War Room, found this out, that, of course, the Ukraine Ministry of Digital Transformation. Now, you heard about these guys, right? The Ukraine Ministry of Digital Transformation. Well, look at your screen here. They're a partner with FTX. Now, the digital transformation, the Ukraine Digital Transformation, who you're seeing here on your screen, they are the ones responsible for putting out propaganda. They're also the ones that banned and made sure that the Gray Zone was kicked out of the Web Summit. So you can't have journalists at Web Summit because Vladimir Zelensky's wife is coming to town, and sorry, can't have the Gray Zone of reporting from there. So the Ministry of Digital Transformation partners with FTX. And then, according to Natali Winters also, bankrupt FTX partnered with the Ukraine government to raise $200 million. A new deleted website shows donations used for media campaigns and other confidential items.
Media campaigns, you say?
Media campaigns.
Why is that essential for a country that's fighting for its life on a battlefield?
It's all the propaganda. That's the most important part. So to think that, like, people who invested in FTX or owned the tokens in that, then Sam goes and gives their money, uses their money, donates it to Democrats who funnel it to Ukraine. Ukraine then invests it back into FTX. And then they all lose their money. And it's all gone. I think personally that this was all planned. And I said at the beginning, I think it was all planned. Here's kind of why I think it was all planned. I want to play this clip. This is a compilation that I grabbed today that I put together from Bloomberg. And I want you to watch this about their take on this. And we'll come back from it. Watch.
A lot of people have compared this to Lehman. I would compare it to Enron.
I think the best thing that could happen to this market would be that it gets some regulation to give it some legitimacy.
I would say it would be a mistake to think, one, that crypto is one thing, and two, that crypto should have one regulator. Every agency, every department, every part of government at every level is going to have to deal with blockchain.
The fact that these exchanges are not allowing withdrawals or distributions is going to put a major, major dent in investor trust.
Okay, so here's my conspiracy theory. Now, we always say on the show, conspiracy theories are just 6-month spoiler alerts, right?
Ooh, I think I know what you're going to say.
What's your prediction? All right, you guys were round robin. What do you guys think I'm going to say?
I think that they're going to use this as an excuse to regulate crypto.
Bingo. And I think it was all planned.
That's what I was going to say.
I think... Now, my main conspiracy theory is that I think he was in on it. Now, I think he was being set up to, not set up, but they were in on this.
Like you could easily set up a 20-something-year-old kid and feed them the idea through their own phone to make an exchange.
Right.
Give them, the right people to start to float it to the top. That would be easy to do. And then let that same kid take the fall.
Yeah.
And then come in and regulate the industry in a way that previously seemed like a not cool thing to do, because Bitcoin and crypto exchanges and blockchains by definition are supposed to be anonymous and unregulatable.
Right. So this is an excuse. It's a total excuse. Like, see what happened we can't ever let what happened. It's like, it's the original Ponzi scheme, right? Like the reason we name it that is because of Ponzi himself. Like, that's now illegal.
Yes.
So it's the same thing. Like, we call it Lehman Brothers, Enron. So how do you prevent something like that? Now it's going to be FTX. Like, how can it be preventable? How in the crypto space?
We can't let that happen again. So
and last week, Janet Yellen was already talking about this. They've already been laying the groundwork for regulation on this. And there are going to be plenty of arguments from the Democrats. And it's going to come very quickly. It's going to happen sooner rather than later. They don't want to have something that's outside of their control,
right?
Where they can't monitor digital transactions, where they can't, it all comes down to where they can't tax it. If the U.S., as we're going to talk about in a minute, goes to war over the U.S. hegemony of the U.S. dollar, why the hell wouldn't they regulate crypto, which is also an affront to American hegemony?
And come up with some way to base it on U.S. currency as well.
Right.
Which is exactly what they did with the petrodollar. Because if it was backed by U.S. currency, it will rise up. It will pin global success to the U.S. dollar forever.
Right.
So can they do that to all blockchain-based money?
Yes, and that's what we're already seeing it in China. They're moving towards their own digital currency. They've already have it, their own digital currency. So the Fed is going to roll out its own digital dollar, and they will monitor every transaction. It's all about control.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's my conspiracy theory, but I don't think it's crazy.
I don't think that's too far out there at all. You've gone way further before.
Yeah, so maybe this isn't as crazy, but let me know what you guys think. Am I wrong about that? Let me know.